Where are we? We are in the International Institute of Research and Education by Human Rights. Now, institute is something well acquainted for the people. International is also acquainted word. People can talk freely about it. Now, this is an institution for research and education. Now, education is something which is totally unacquainted, though it prevails on us as if it is a well acquainted word, well acquainted subject. The difference is very vast. The word just swings from acquainted to unacquainted. It is because education and its status, its stand, and its situation is not understood. The difference is just because it is not understood well. Now, education is always conceived that is with respect to some objective subject, and the subject is about an objective matter and objective world. Objective is something which is totally against the man. It's because he is a subjective entity. Say, for example, when we say I read a book, book is an object, and the content of it, as we see, it's only a language just written, a scribbling or a neat writing. But if you go to tap and ask about it, say ask the book whether it is acquainted with its content, it doesn't give us a reply. It is because it is not aware of it. Now, man says that he is reading. Then he says that he understood. What's his expression? Reading is a course. A course. Course of what? Course of taking the book inside. The sentence reads as if a book is taken into the brain. But taking the book inside is not understood that way, because men are sure that the physical book can never be taken into the brain. They are sure about it. So their sentence does not explain a physical event. The content of the book to be taken into the brain, that's their meaning. Well, what is the content? Content, if you go on searching, you don't see it physically, because the total explanation through the language in the book is non-physical. It's a non-physical entity. Man has to apply his non-physical entity and then take it into his non-physical entity and absorb it inside. Say, he must cast his vision. Cast his vision. We should be very thorough about the wording of the sentences that we make to explain the situation. Vision is with him. View is outside. The difference is quite clear. A view can never be a vision can never be a view. Right? Let's be very clear about it. And much more what he says is, I cast my vision on the view. The view now is the book. He has to cast it. So the vision is with him, and casting the vision is something, an activity which he is doing it. That is to say, when the vision is non-physical, he must cast a non-physical entity, apply a non-physical entity on a physical entity. Only then he can lift the non-physical entity of the book, the content of the book. Until such an application is done, the content is dead there. It is inanimate. It is insentient for that, and it is inanimate for him to pick it up. He has to animate it by his non-physical application. Well, this is a fact. It's a fact not for the book, not for the Godhead, not for a scripture, not even for any other saying. It's a practical event. It's a practical event. Though it's a very practical event, man is not aware of it. Man is not aware of it because he is not careful about it. Here, the gulf of difference, we should be very clear that he is applying, he is not aware of it. He has no other alternative than to apply in the real sense. He cannot be away from the reality. If alone he is away from the reality, his vision is not cast in the book, and he wouldn't lift the content inside. He uses the correct terminology. His activity is right on the reality. But for his comprehension, he is totally out of that. So, education. Now, what is education? This total conduct, as we call, is a word given in the language Samskrita as Hari. Hari is not a physical form explained either in Veda or anywhere. Hari is one that conducts. Conducts what? Conducts the total affair. Total affair in the sense, with respect to the book, lifting of the content, and with respect to the man, applying the vision, applying his sense. Vision with the eye, through the eye, vision through the eye. Through the eye, what comes is the characteristic Hari. his physical sense comes out in the form of a ray. It is his ray. Ray is not a thing that is just created somewhere and then let out. It has a source. The source is within. And what is that within? In English, we know the non-physical field just by the words mind, or the best, intelligence. Mind is disputed as saying that it is a chemical reaction. Right, sir, it's a chemical reaction. Okay, that chemical reaction can be prepared in a chemistry laboratory, and let the reaction be prepared in a chemistry laboratory, and let that be designated as mind, and let it work as the mind that is working with you. It's a practical evidence that just a laboratory experiment can be like a motivation inside. People may vary in their concepts, but realities do not change for them. Reality is mind, is mana jnane, jna avabodhane. It is non-physical conducting, non-physical comprehension. So it has a source inside. Even the word intelligence is internally telling gesture. A gesture that talks inside, tells inside. And the language Samskrita has explained more stages inside. Say mind, manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, intelligence, and intelligence correction. And then for intelligence correction and the source for it inside. And that source we have to explain. We have to explain it much to depth. We shall do it later, but let us call it as the consciousness of I. The inside, the driver, the source, emanation is I. None else. There could be none else. Within is only I, none else. That I is very rich, very rich. It can conduct totally. It is as rich as the word Hari is expounded by the language Samskrita, by Veda, or any scripture. Hari is Haratiti Harihi, one who conducts. Now I conduct myself. I conduct my intelligence correction. I conduct my intelligence. And the ray just goes like that. And a stage where the word calls it as buddhi. Buddhi is Buddha Avagamani. It's a protected attainment, protected attainment of the richness of the consciousness of I. Right? Let us repeat. Buddhi is a protected attainment of the richness of the consciousness of I. My richness, I would call. My richness is my buddhi. If the richness inside is lost, attainment is lost. And it is never allowed to be lost. But man is very cunning for himself, highly cunning for himself. He can be cunning for himself, not for the world. He corrupts his own conduct. He cannot corrupt his characteristic Hari. When he corrupts himself, all his activity is corrupted. He tries to corrupt, but the internal consciousness I always saves him, because the corrected expression goes in terms of I. I always conducts and expresses and receives only in its own consciousness. Nothing differing from that, never differs. This is a very good design for him. If at all this consciousness I were to be vacillated, then man can never come back to his stable status. For the men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. For the men may come and may go, but I go on forever. For the man may conduct corrupted in multi ways, but he can never corrupt his consciousness. His consciousness is always in limelight for him whenever he conducts corrupted. So much so limelight that his corruption he has always to compare with his consciousness. Consciousness is never failing. So his corrupted conduct is a limited field. So he will see a gulf of difference between himself, between his corrupted conduct and his consciousness. This is the richness of the design. Richness of the design where the man is protected. He is protected until he comes to a realization. He may come and go. He may corrupt himself in any number of births, for any number of years, any number of objective intelligence. But the only reply, only the setback, the answer which he gets, feedback, only feedback is that he is not satisfied. His consciousness is not satisfied for him. This is the depth of study. Now, this study brings in a very good suggestion. Here, let us be acquainted little more before we go forward. The words are very clear. They are not bound. They don't tie to you. They don't trouble you. They are very clear. Now, I should be very clear for him. It's not a word. In the language of Sanskrit, the word means pada. Pada is attainment. An abode, attained abode. So I is an attained abode. Consciousness is an attained abode. And the ray coming about out of this consciousness of I as the source, the ray coming out is again an abode for him. Abode never fails, and the channel through which it goes. The intelligence is an abode. Intelligence correction is an abode. Self is an abode. Activation, chitta, is an abode. Protected attainment, buddhi, is an abode. Manas, non-physical comprehension, is an abode. It's a channel of abode, a rich abode for him. And this non-physical ray coming through the eye is called casting of vision. Man uses the word casting of vision, but he doesn't explain to himself because he has not defined anything inside. Man talks not well defined. Not well defined. Just put a question, say, "Oh man, who are you?" He cannot define. Everything that he gives an answer can be negated. It can be negated. If he would say that this physical body is myself, then the only answer is physical body is meeting death. Then he should say, I should meet death. Immediately he says, I should never meet a death. I don't like to die. But body is sure to die. He is negated. He is negated. Consciousness negated. Body perishes. I never perishes. And what is that I that doesn't perish? I is not a physical body as this. I is a consciousness. And through the senses, he is trying to make it as a ray, that's all. He is not coming out. He is not lost. A ray is never cut off from the source. This is clear. This is clear. Vacillating, indistinct terminologies, abodes, are never intertwined in the universe, in the design of the universe, in the design of the man. He is a definite entity, a consciousness, interlinking the entire universe. Right? It's very good. Now, education is, in another aspect, not acquainted for him. Now, whatever is going on is not new to him. It is in his regular practice. It is an eternal practice for him. But the conduct of it, the consciousness of it is unacquainted. The conduct of it also is unacquainted. The channel coming out from buddhi, as we said, the protected attainment buddhi, through mind, gives its signals to the brain. And the brain conveys or relays the signals to the senses. This is conduct. A conduct between non-physical to physics. And as we know, this is a physical body, but not meant for a physical conduct. It's a physical body designed to meet the non-physical reflection of the man, a non-physical reflection of the man, to express out his consciousness, read, monitor, correct, and receive it as it is, undisturbed. That's the course. That's the course in all the activities. So this is not unacquainted for him. Let us bring in another example with the man in his own conversions. The kid, a boy of a class, he goes for examination. When he goes for an examination, he is served with a question paper. The moment he reads the question paper, then he has a reaction. It is because the question paper is something with respect to the external entity as his lessons of the class. But now he must interact with it, not with respect to the lessons, but with respect to his consciousness. And in the middle, his terms are how I have understood the lesson, how I can reflect back. He is again thinking with respect to the lessons. There he uses another word. How I have understood the lesson, how can I express back? The element I is coming. Even though he uses the word I, he always concentrates on the understanding the lesson and then putting it back. That is where man loses his intelligence. Well, knowingly or unknowingly, an intelligent man, he is intelligent not with respect to the subject, external subject. He is intelligent to maintain his consciousness of I. Stable consciousness. That stable consciousness takes the entire lessons as a Xerox, a non-physical Xerox. Then he puts back, as he goes on writing, either he is writing the lesson, answering the question, or he is answering it in the abode of the consciousness of I. In the worldly language, whether he is writing the answer for the question or he is presenting his intelligence. There you get it. He is presenting his intelligence. His intelligence is at the back of whatever he has written. As it is in a textbook. In a textbook there is a language written, there is intelligence, there is a content in it. Now, as he writes also, there is a content. The content of his is his intelligence, his consciousness. The stability, the order of stability to which he has maintained his intelligence, his consciousness, is intelligence. Let's repeat. The order of stability which he has maintained, sustained on his consciousness is his intelligence. That can explain anything in the world. Because everything about the world, everything about the object is for him in terms of his consciousness of I. This is education. And the boy, as he goes to write the examination, the stable person, the stable boy, takes it stable. We say he has attended the examination, he wrote the examination very stable. He wrote the examination is one intent, one content, and his stability is another. And another case, the boy tried to write, but he lost the game. He forgot what he studied, he says. He forgot because he forgot himself. His entity he could not maintain there. If alone his entity has been maintained there, his stability brings in whatever he has not even read. He can draw it. It's because everything is his sense. Even the content of the subject is his sense. As he listened to his lecturer, there also the lecturer gave it in the physical form of sounds, but he drew it, he has taken it in his intelligence, non-physical form. The total course is non-physical, but he has lost the game. He has not recognized it. If only he has been taught in the college or schools, say that you are working on your non-physical entity, then the student would have had a sufficient opportunity to work on his non-physical. The working on non-physical is made obsolete for him, even for a word. Even for a word. He is always memorized or mesmerized. He is always mesmerized with the physics, physical, external. The man is never an external. His internal things are held tight enough, not allowed for real activity, for comprehension. They act, they cannot be stopped, but they are stopped for his comprehension. Students, education are corrupted this way. The extent of correction is to the extent of not getting to their reach the reality, their own reality. The students does not know, the teachers, professors do not know, the institutions do not know, and the society does not know, and the government also do not know. The total ignorance, total unawareness. The cause of it is coming as effect as total unawareness on education. So what we need is now research. Such research. Word is not sufficient to explain. The English word is not sufficient to explain. Because he says search. Okay, I have searched. I could not get it. It says research. Do search again. I have searched. Never possible. A foolish man working in the foolish world in foolish sense can never derive intelligence. He derives the same foolishness with which he has conducted himself. The word research, no. The word should talk better. The language Samskrita gives its verbatim, its word as parishodhana. Shodhana, parishodhana. Shodhana is itself research, search and research. Search and research until you gain, but it has a backing. Research has a backing. The backing is pari, parana purana. With your effort, that element is failing in the word research. Your effort unto accomplishment. Your effort. If I say it's my effort, I should know who am I. So my effort always talks to say that applying myself. My effort means it's not something, effort is something different, and my is something thrown back inside or thrown back away from consciousness or awareness or out of the orbits of intelligence. No. It is totally conducting. It's just like a ray. A ray conducts the light of the source. If at all there is no light of the source, it is not a ray. Samskrita word calls it as kirana, kruvichepe. The total conduct from the source to the activity is kirana. The ray is aware of its effulgence, its light. It conducts. When the sun rays fall on a stone, the stone gets heated. But that means the stone is taking the heat of the ray. It is drawn, but the ray never gets perturbed. It doesn't shout, "Oh, my heat is taken away by the stone. I have lost my, I am losing." This is not the expression of the ray. It is stable. it is stable with its source. It is stable because though it is disturbed in the other end, it is stable with its source. So, my ray that conducts is stable, perhaps more stable than the ray of sun. In the sense, the sun rays fall on the earth in the third and fourth quadrants. It doesn't react, it doesn't give the light. It goes into shade. The ray can be slant. Only in the midday, 12 hours, 12 p.m., the ray is straight onto the earth. But my ray is always straight. It's collinear, a ray, never disturbed either at the source or at the object. That steadiness should be made known to the student. Always talked about it, because it always conducts in his experiments, in his conducts. So, through the conducts, he should be explained about it. He should be made known. For the affair gets disturbed, I am not disturbed. For the affair is disturbed, I am not disturbed. This is Pari, his practice to accomplishment, to stability, and Sodhana is his effort, his research. Search with this backing, with this awareness. It may take time. Research. Again, research yourself. Don't search the object. For the object is already well known to you. The entire universe is well known to you. It cannot lose track about it. It can never deceive you. A man of self-consciousness can talk anything about anything outside in its fullness, more than a scientist who can work on it. His applications, he should know. The word application is very famous, popular. Now again, application as it stands is only his non-physical field. The external is applied, the applied entity. This is applying entity. Let us repeat. This is applying entity, this is applied entity. The conversation between these two, the liaison between these two is the application. Now the application of the consciousness. When we apply the consciousness, a simple example, the intelligent man works in the world. He gets back, feeds back to him his own intelligence. A foolish man works, his feedback is foolishness. Same way, my consciousness is applied, the feedback is my consciousness. The entire universe culminates into my consciousness. I draw it not in terms of the physics external, but in terms of my consciousness. This is research on education. Let us meet again. Om Tat Sat.